guys, it's Sarah and today's Booklist Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or a bookish topic that we feel like talking about. And today we are going to talk about audiobooks. Lindsay and I both listen to audiobooks on a consistent basis. So we have listened to enough that we kind of have some of our favorites and ones that we've really enjoyed and that really stood out to us. And we thought we would share some of our all-time favorite audiobooks with you guys. So if these are some books that you've been thinking about reading, or if some of them are a little bit intimidating to you, we would recommend listening to them on audio as well. I listen to audiobooks on multiple different platforms. The biggest one is probably Overdrive or Libby, whichever your library uses. I know a lot of people were using Overdrive, but Libby has kind of taken over that, I think. So it's like kind of in both. Like I still can get to Overdrive, even though some of it's Libby too. It's very interesting how all that works. But those are from the library. So those apps are connected to your library. So whichever service your library uses is what you end up using. That's probably my biggest one. I also listen on Scribd, which is a paid monthly subscription type thing. And I also listen on Libro FM, which is also a paid subscription, but a portion of those proceeds go towards an independent bookstore of your choice. So I really like that. And I try to use them a little bit more now just because, you know, some of that money is going towards an independent bookstore versus the company, you know what I mean? So it's like they're not getting 100% of the profit. The bookstore is getting some of that as well, which is a great way to be able to support independent bookstores, especially right now because some are still closed. So, you know, Libro FM has been one of my favorites. I actually have a whole video about Libro FM and their concept and what they do and how it works. So I'll leave that link down below if you guys want more information on that if you missed it the first time around, but that's been one of my favorites so far and they have a wonderful selection. And then I also do still have my Audible account open. I don't pay for Audible anymore. I did cancel my monthly subscription, but I kept my account open so I do have access to all of those books that I have purchased in the past. So I do still listen on there, but only, you know, I can't get new books on there anymore because I don't pay for it. But those are the main ways that I listen to audiobooks. Okay, so one of my favorite things to listen to on audio is nonfiction, because, you know, sometimes they are narrated by celebrities or sometimes they're narrated by the authors, which I think is great, especially if it's like a celebrity memoir narrated by the celebrity. It's so fantastic. It's a great reading experience for that. So I do listen to quite a bit of nonfiction on audio. And my favorite of all time is I Can't Make This Up by Kevin Hart. You guys, if you're a fan of Kevin Hart, you have to listen to this book. The only catch is it is an Audible exclusive. You can only listen to it on Audible. So there is that, but oh my gosh, if you have Audible, please listen to this book. It is so fantastic. He is just so funny. I love him. I love his comedy. I've seen him in person. He's so good. And this book, I was laughing. He didn't even start the book yet, and I was laughing. Like he hadn't even gotten to chapter 1. Just the intro to the audiobook was so funny. And it's like that throughout the whole book. I laughed out loud constantly. It was great. I love that he took a lot of the stories that he tells and he ties them into life lessons, which is great. And they made a lot of sense. And there were quite a few like full circle things for him, which I thought was wonderful. And he gets real. He talks about his mistakes. He talks about, you know, how choices he's made has impacted his life. And it was so good. Like it was great. I loved it so much. The next one I want to talk about is actually a science fiction book, and that is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. And this is a book that is told in a really unique format. It's basically mixed media. So it's emails, transcripts. Some of the pages have like designs on them and the words follow the designs. And it's very, very atmospheric, the way that you read that. So I'd heard really good things about the audiobook. It is a full cast, which is one of my favorite things to listen to. I love a full cast because it really helps you differentiate the different characters and who's talking and what's going on and all that. So I love that about it. And the way that I did it was I read the book at the same time that I listen to it. And I think that's the way to go because you're getting the experience of reading it and seeing the transcripts and seeing all the things, which makes it atmospheric, but you're also listening to a full cast do it, and it's so great. So that was like one of my favorite reading experiences that I've had. So I would definitely recommend this one. It's a very fast read, even though the book is over 500 pages. It's very fast. I think I read it in 2 days. It's so quick to get through just because of all that stuff. And I can't wait to finish the series. I do have the other 2 books that I plan to do the same thing, where I'm going to listen to it and read it at the same time. Another one of my favorites was Sadie by Courtney Summers, and this one is also a full cast, and this one also includes a podcast, which was really interesting. And the way that it was recorded, it sounded like you were listening to a podcast, which made it very interesting. So the podcast is like a true crime one, and it's following a crime that happened in this town, and it happened to the family, one of the family members of a girl named Sadie. And Sadie ends up disappearing, and nobody knows where she is or where she went, and they don't know if something has happened to her the way that it happened to, I believe, her sister. And you're trying to figure out like where Sadie is. You're following her footsteps. The podcast is trying to follow in her footsteps to try to figure out where she is, because nobody really knows. And it was really, really interesting. So you're kind of, you're going back and you're seeing Sadie's, like what she was doing and stuff leading up to when she left. And then every so often the podcast will come in, and you'll get little snippets of that. So I loved it. I thought it was great. It was really, really well done. The next one is another full cast one, and that is Stacey Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I loved this audiobook, you guys. I really did. And just the voice acting was so good. And it has, like actors that you guys would recognize, like Judy Greer is in it. And I'm trying to think of who played Daisy. It was Jennifer. Shoot. She was in Flashdance. Like, that's what she's probably the most famously known for. So let me look up her last name, because I don't remember. Jennifer Beals. I couldn't remember her last name. Jennifer Beals. But she plays Daisy Jones, and it was fantastic, you guys. It was so good. And the whole book is told in interview format. So it's about a rock band in the 70s who came together with Daisy Jones, who was an independent singer, and they came together and made an album, and then they kind of formed this band, and they were incredibly successful. And you follow their relationships and how things changed and things that were happening, and it was so good. And then they end up, in the middle of one of their tours, they end up cutting ties and breaking off, and nobody knew why. And this is told in the future, like years later, and they're telling their story of, what happened and why and all this stuff. And you're getting it from different people. You're getting it, from Daisy and from the band and from the road techs and from the groupies and from everyone who was pretty much involved anyway with them and had a story to tell. We're telling their story on this kind of like interview format type thing. It felt very much like a VH1 behind the music type of thing, which was really cool. And I loved the vibe of it, and I loved the narrators were just so good. I think even Benjamin Bratt was one of them, which was really cool. And it was really, really good, really well done. I was completely immersed in it, and I thought it was great. And then my last recommendation for audiobooks is actually some Stephen King books, and I have 2 different ones to talk about, and there's very specific reasons why I don't want to listen to all of his books on audio, but these 2 I absolutely loved, and it's because of who narrated them. So the first one is It, and this one is narrated by Steven Weber, who is an actor. And actually, he played in a TV movie version of The Shining. I watched that in high school, and it scared the crap out of me. It scared me so bad. And it was just a TV movie. It wasn't even like they couldn't do everything on TV, but it still scared the crap out of me. I still remember that. Oh my gosh. But he starred in that, which was really cool. And now he narrated It. So I loved this narration. It was fantastic. His voice for Pennywise was chilling, just like it gave me chills. I was like, oh my gosh. And he keeps you in the story because this is a big old book, and it's a very long audiobook, but I listened to it on a road trip, and it was it was fantastic. I really, really liked his narration of it and the way that he narrated it and the voices that he used and just his expressions. And it was really good. So definitely recommend that one. And then the second Stephen King book I want to recommend on audio is Pet Sematary. And this one is narrated by Michael C. Hall, who I have a little soft spot on my heart for him. I love him so much. Ever since Dexter, he's a favorite. I love him. So when I found out that he was narrating Pet Sematary, I flipped out and I was like, Mom, I literally called my mom. I was like, Mom, Michael C. Hall's narrating this. We need to get a hold of this somehow. She's like, I'm on it. And so she got it on Audible. And so I was able to listen to it that way. And it was so good. Just his voice is just, yes, please. That's what his voice is to me. Yes, please. So listening to him read it was wonderful. And it actually so far is one of my favorite Stephen King books. Okay, guys, that is going to be it for my audiobook recommendations. Those are some of my favorites that I have listened to, and I continue to listen to audiobooks. I absolutely love them. They help me do my laundry. They help me drive. They help keep me entertained when I'm kind of doing mundane things that I don't necessarily enjoy. And yeah, so let me know down below what some of your favorite audiobooks are. And if you mention any that I have on my TBR, maybe I could consider listening to them instead of, physically reading them. Let me know what your favorites are. And definitely go check out Lindsay because she listens to audiobooks just as much as I do. So I'm really interested to see what some of her favorites have been. And that's going to be it for us today. Hope you guys are safe and well, and we will see you again soon. Bye.